running full speed, but the markets are faster. Quasar Markets Live brings the world's top financial minds to you. Everything you need to know in one place. Learn from elite educators and gain a competitive edge, leveling the playing field for you. Join the conversation. Quasar Markets Live.
Good morning, Quasar Markets Live. Good morning, BigBeat. How you doing this morning?
Man, I'm doing wonderful, Howard. Yesterday, look, the markets gave us a pretty good, clear indication of what's going to happen this morning and yesterday. And the saber rattling hasn't stopped. But really, the world hasn't really changed a whole lot. The geopolitical issues around the world are still there. Nothing really changed. A few more bombs were dropped. We already know that, which is terrible. But what's going to happen in the next few days? And the whole tone, while it has still pretty much been on Israel, Iran, is going to be all over Jay Powell today. I mean, it's not even really about whether or not we can get some peace in the Middle East, because we haven't had peace in the Middle East for, 4,000 years. So what's going to change today? Not much, right? So to me, Howard, it's all about what Jay Powell, not what he says, because he's going to say that, quite frankly, no, rates aren't going to change. It's what he's going to say to the answers to the questions that are going to be posed to him by Bloomberg, by Wall Street Journal, by Dow Jones. He's now going to have to defend himself, not only against the president of the United States, but now financial media and the world, because now ECB, all the others, as Steve Flanagan said yesterday, explained to it, right? Why are they leading us now? That's just nuts. And so he's going to have to explain that. And I want to hear how he explains that.
Yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt, that's going to be the question of the day. Market looks like it's in good shape all of a sudden this morning. It really turned around here right around 8:30 or so. We sort of bottomed out and we started to pick up. 7:30, excuse me. So Q's up now about 20 basis points, SPY up about 13. And that sounds bad mortgage numbers again, right?
Yeah.
That was the economic data today. So mortgage apps are down 2.6% despite the lower rates. So people still not buying. The good news is it does seem like markets are moving based upon, good news, bad news, and such. Biggest gainer so far this morning is TMC, the metals company, up about 12% now here today on news that they have a huge investment from Korea Zinc for about $85.2 million. And we know that President Trump's April 24th executive order is fast-tracking deep sea mining, which is what TMC does best, right?
Deep sea mining is going to need more than 85 million. That's just a drop in the bucket to deep sea mining. So I don't really understand why the stock's up 30%, other than there's some belief in it. It takes billions of dollars to deep sea mine. If you don't believe that, just go talk to any oil miner in the Gulf, right? In order just to stick a straw down the bottom of the ocean, and in this case, the Gulf of Mexico.
The estimate is you need $7 billion to reach commercial scale.
Correct. There you go. I didn't know the exact number, but this is okay, great. They secured some money to hire some executives. Great. That's not going to make a difference in the company.
So you think you short this news?
No, I don't really care.
Okay.
Yeah.
Otherwise, not much going on. Tech names are moving up a little bit here. AMD, CoreWeave, Palantir, Tesla are seeing early green. Also, Nucor had some great earnings reports, and that one's up. They raised their Q2 guidance, and they said that their steel mills are surging on sheet and plate prices.
Yeah, that makes very good sense. If we're going to move all this manufacturing back home, we got to build these buildings. Then we have to put steel together, and we know that for a fact. So, and steel, the best of our process, hasn't changed in over 100 years. It's not going to change for any long time sooner. It's a very very basic process, but very hard to produce, and only a few companies can do it. And during the late 60s, after the big boom from World War II rebuilding, we had to have Bethlehem Steel gone. These big steel mills are gone, and now the steel mills that are still around, like Nucor, then these are going to have to really produce at a higher rate than before. So they're really going to be moving, and I agree. Raising guidance means that they're going to get more business. Look, we all know why we used Chinese steel and Japanese steel. It's cheaper, but it is cheaper product too, right? U.S. steel is very strong. It lasts many, many years. If you don't believe me, just go spend some time in New York at the skyscrapers, and there they are, right? And that's why we say with manufacturing back here, it's not going to be just manufacturing in the heartland, right? They're gonna build these big manufacturing plants that are going to sprawl for football fields long, and so you're going to need lots of steel for that, and rebar and all kinds of things. And Nucor actually excels at that.
Yep, their steel mills saw the largest expected year-over-year increase thanks to higher average selling prices at sheet and plate mills. The sequential earnings rise driven by stable pricing, higher volumes, and lower cost per ton. So again, good news there is moving up on that news. Marvell's up about 4.66% today. Most of that was on analyst expectation there, Ron. Not really any news based. Everything I sort of looked up at, I guess they got Empower. But most of the stuff was that they got a price target hike from Benchmark, from B. Riley, and by Needham overnight, along with Rosenblatt. So they saw a lot of the stuff there on Marvell was analyst expectations of 95 to 115 is what I saw for most of them here this morning. There, I'll have to see more about what this Empower semiconductor connection is on it. But I'm a fan of Marvell. I said that, I've had since they broke into this liquidity zone here on the screen. I've been talking about them. So
yep.
It does look like they're trying. I need to see them break through this 74.30 handle to see that move to the upside towards the 200-day MA, but it's primed for a good spot here. Now it's got to close the gap. No problem, Ron. Other ones that were up so far, and this sort of goes more to also the mean reversion trade does seem to be back a little bit, Steve. ASTS was one of the harder hits yesterday, down about 4.32%, up close to 2% earlier this morning. So we're seeing about a half back mean reversion there. Sort of why I have it on my chart here. Same thing. QUBT, quantum computing, yesterday down 6.74, bouncing back to 2%, another 2% here today. So we are seeing some of these that do take either the big move up, big move down, that are seeing the next day the mean reversion. Ones that were bucking the trend, although now it has moved negative. I was watching Kratos earlier this morning because it was on a second day after being up 5% yesterday. It was looking to close or open a little bit higher today. Doesn't look like it's still on track for that, but I thought that was interesting. And on the other side of that, if we look at laggards, Steve, UNH can't get out of its own way, huh?
Yeah, never has. I just wish it would, because once it does, it'd be fine. But you're right; it can't get out of its way. That's all there is.
Just going back a little bit now, back to the upside. It was down, over 1.5% here earlier this morning. So seeing a little bit of run. Continuation, though, I'll tell you where we're seeing the continuation of the downside. Solar, Sunrun down another 2.42% after being down 40 yesterday. I know I asked yesterday, is there any point where solar starts to get interesting to you again, or is that industry now sort of like cannabis where we don't see any winners?
I think right now, when you look at solar, it's out of favor with the president, and it is not getting the tax breaks that it was. So it has to stand on its own 2 feet. I'm very interested to see if it can stand on its own 2 feet right now. If it does, then I think it's okay to invest if your thesis is down the road. But right now, if nuclear becomes the power source, then we don't really need solar, right? Even if the world goes to hell in a handbasket, nuclear power plants are still there, right? Lines are still there. what happens is if zombies attack, then obviously electricity has to be made some way, right? It has to be by pushing more oil, but nuclear can just keep on pumping and keep on pumping, right? Yeah.
Awesome. I will say Chinese names getting hit here today. So the ones that were moving up, Lee, Baidu, some of those that were moving up earlier this week now are retracing there. So most of those. The other thing retracing was the cruise lines again here this morning, Steve. So they're getting down now. NCLH down about 3.36%.
Yep.
Almost 3.5% over the last 2 days. Do any of those start to get interesting for you? I know you're a big cruise guy.
Say that the cruises are still pretty popular. I did say yesterday that there's a new documentary coming out. I don't know, maybe it's a mockumentary in a lot of ways from Netflix about Carnival Cruise Lines, Poop Cruise. That's the name of the cruise show. Could hit them a little bit, reminding people that things do go wrong on cruises out there sometimes. It's rarity, but it does happen. No, I don't think so. They're still spending money left and right. But, when you have a ship in the Mediterranean and you've got a war going on in that semi area, it's not close to the area. They're not in the Strait of Hormuz hanging out the Dead Sea in a cruise ship. But, there's still some concern, right? Somali pirates off the coasts. They don't go that direction anymore. There are a few places in LATAM that they don't go anymore. And the president's actually cutting back on some of the places, like including, I don't really understand it, but St. Lucia and Antigua. That's just, I don't know, that's the weirdest thing ever. But okay. Yep.
I did, Steve. We talked about, I said, is 5G dying? And my chat GPT tells me, no, it's not. So a couple of big deals came up overnight here that have moving things. One of the things that's moving ASTS back to the upside is they are partnering with Vodafone India to bring space-based mobile coverage to India's unconnected regions. ASTS will provide the satellites and Vodafone will handle the spectrum and the network. And then to top on that, I actually saw Ericsson was one of the gainers here this morning when I did more research into why they were gaining. It is because the Swedish military has tapped them for 5G defense tech. So maybe 5G might not be as important in certain parts as we saw with T-Mobile at the retail level, but at the defense level and institutional or industrial, still important.
I was so excited when 5G came out because I thought 5G is going to be the future, and I still think it could be, but it just can't get it together. And look, we're just skipping technology at this point. Technology through satellites is moving at such an alarming fast speed that there's really no need for 5G anymore. Maybe 5G for Sweden is great, but 5G isn't going to work just now for the United States. We need stronger, faster, everywhere data. And that's going to be great, right? If I want to go to Africa in the middle of the jungle and I want to go to the Amazon, great. I'm on a cruise ship, great. I want to be able to pick up my satellite phone.
Remember, these are using satellites, so this would.
They are still using satellite, but the last mile is still 5G, right? And that last mile it doesn't seem to me to be. I don't know. 5G is great, but 6G is already coming. I don't know. 7G is already in the works. So I don't know. It seems to be a little behind the times here.
Okay. Circle, another one that you're not a fan of, up 3% as the Senate did pass the stablecoin bill, the genius bill.
Yeah.
So they are still moving up. And that's with Kathy Wood dumping a huge percentage of it. I'm amazed this thing's staying up at 150 level here. Unbelievable.
How about Cero from yesterday that was up, I don't know how much, 188% at some point. It's really far up there. I was playing with it at $15 and at 18 and at 20 yesterday, and today it's at 14.10 this morning.
Nice.
I'd like to revisit this one a little bit.
Yeah. And you're welcome for that.
Yeah, you caught that one.
Yeah, look at that. Nice move.
I'm still long Tesla, though. I'm not a happy camper this morning because Ayatollah Khomeini thinks he's going to take on the world. If that would just back off a bit, this thing could take off again. But we're hearing reports that Israel is attacking Iran's supreme leader's underground headquarters right now, and that we're hearing that Iran has just hit Israel pretty hard too as well. So this is not playing around anymore. And there's Bitcoin now dropping to 104 here.
Yeah, not much reaction by the Qs though on any of this news. Stock market doesn't seem to care.
I went long, as everybody knows, yesterday on QQQ. So on the near the close, if you were near, there we go. 104 has just been broken to the downside on Bitcoin. That kind of sucks. And we're seeing trading volume on centralized exchanges has dropped to multi-year lows, which means portends to me, it tells me that probably, quote, quote, I think Michael Saylor might be having some fun here. Might be picking some up here soon again.
Yeah, maybe. Could be. We'll see. Oh, 12 minutes from the open here. Tick is down a little bit right now. Advanced declines pulled back a little bit, but not much. Mag 7 outside of Microsoft, all in the green so far.
What are your thoughts about Ayatollah Khomeini saying that death to America if the United States gets involved? I mean, is this going to be? Does he have the chutzpah to do it here, or what?
No, he doesn't have the ability to do it.
Right. Keeping my eye pretty tight here on the talk around Fed today. I mean, I think the Fed talk is going to be absolutely concerning today because Powell's got, I mean, like I said earlier, Powell's got to explain himself on this. It's just, I don't really understand right now.
Right. We'll see if he does. He's pretty good. No answers. Yeah, not much movement here. Not much going on. Momentum moving up now. That wasn't up earlier this morning.
And if you really want to know what's really going on in Iran, Israel fight, I mean, it's keep your eye on oil, right? 73.45. Seems like a little bit of a pullback here. So, you know, if we see a little bit more pullback, that could push money back into the stock market and into crypto back. And of course, gold right now, 33.92, almost back to 3,400 again. And of course, silver holding above the 37 handle there. So that is, to me, telling me everything that people are still nervous about the markets. And tick, I mean, my goodness, Howard, tick is literally -3, -17. Like it is flat as a pancake.
Yeah, there is not much going on. And like I said, advanced decline isn't moving much either.
Pretty.
Housing starts have plummeted to a 5-year low. Lennar was down. It was up yesterday, we know, after earnings, but it was down earlier today. Yeah, it ended up down. Lennar, which was up, now down, ended up today down 4.46 yesterday and another 0.5 point here this morning. Did mention a little bit earlier, one thing that the government seems to be able to agree on right now, or the only thing they can agree on, is they passed a stablecoin bill.
Yeah.
Bipartisan pass, very big pass. It was a runaway winner. Does look like we're hearing Nippon Steel and U.S. Steel close the deal overnight too.
They did, yeah, yeah. I mean, what about? I mean, Texas Instruments investing over $50 billion in the United States to make foundational chips. I mean, that okay. EU has now reached a deal to exempt 90% of firms from carbon border levy. So the carbon tax is about to be gone.
Yep.
That's a good thing for the EU. That helps some of the, I mean, they really are dropping regulations. They really are getting their thing back together over in Europe. They're taking advantage of the United States' failures, especially Germany.
Right. Not really much of a move here still. Q's just sitting at the 530 level, 530.42. Not really moving. Still a quarter of a point to the upside. SPY pretty much the same. Everything keeps on returning to VWAP, so it's nothing is moving too far. Bitcoin back above 104. Yeah, not seeing too much.
Yeah, it's a very quiet day today. I mean, this market is poised.
They're waiting for Powell.
They really are, yeah. And I think we should have a special show today for that, actually. I can be around for that.
I am not.
Yeah, no problem. I'll do that show today.
I have Mr. Gordon at that time.
Yeah, we're hearing reports now that Israel is reportedly attacking Iran's supreme leader's underground headquarters, so they are going after the Ayatollah Khomeini today. Bonds 10-year now yield going down to 4.371%. That means a big move into the bond market here as yeah.
Gold not moving up on this news, kind of weird. Looks like I might try here. Q just pegged at that 530.
They are, yes. We got about 5 minutes now to the open here, Howard. Okay, there we go. Russia now threatening to intervene in the war if the U.S. participates alongside Israel and Iran. It's now coming over the wires now. Yikes. And it's too late now because they really have. So much for Putin and Powell and Trump becoming friends overnight, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
I mean, I think some of these geopolitical issues should put Powell in a position to understand that rates need to be cut if things are getting bad here. I think he's just worried about, rates going or inflation going back up. I think that's all that this is about.
Yeah. Bitcoin about to break down to the lows of the day. Watch for a flush to 101
Ron is
today.
asking about what ticker are we talking about. Do you know which ticker you were talking about there?
No, no idea.
Let us know what company you're interested in, Ron, and we'll get that ticker for you. Got 3 minutes now to the open here. I noticed that last night the Florida Panthers won the Stanley Cup
Yeah.
over yay, Florida.
It extends the streak that Canada does not win.
Yes.
Yeah, my former Bruin, Brad Marchand, handed them that title.
Yeah.
Does look like Bitcoin is going to come right back down to challenge that 103.4, the lows of yesterday.
Oil is pumping here,
Liquidation.
73.79. Yeah, keep your eye on oil today. It is pushing here again.
Yep.
As these headlines coming in now, probably fast and furious. So
Qs have retraced a little on that news, but not really.
yeah. I think people want to know definitive news, right? It's not just getting news in. They need to know exactly what is happening over there.
Yep. Two minutes to the open here. Tick is slightly positive. Advanced decline's been sticking right around that 1,234 level, so it hasn't really done too much here. Dixie is back up above 98 here, 98.67, so not quite at the highs of yesterday, but getting ready to approach those. So the dollar getting a little bit of juice here today.
Dasha Burns, that's the White House bureau chief for political, now reporting that an administration official tells her that we are moving towards taking out Iranian nuclear facilities. Says no one in the West Wing is talking regime change.
President did.
He sure did.
Q's 429.08 now, so they have slid a little bit here. They were on the high side of 429, 430. We are open, and unlike the last 2 days, algo is pushing prices down on that news to start off with. Q's break down from about 530 even down to 529 at 60. SPY is up about 6 basis points, but again, you see that one handle down here.
And obviously gold is pumping here too as well. 33.96.
Yeah, up about 16 basis points.
I think as we get clarity about what the playbook is here from them, I'm not. We're hearing now that Israel Defense Minister Katz now says Air Force destroyed Iranian Internal Security Agency headquarters. So now they're just saying a headquarters now. That is hitting some of the markets a little bit there.
Bitcoin's still sliding. Like I said, the first level you want to look for is that 103, 250 area. Anything broached below that will send it probably back down towards this 101, 500 level.
Yeah, I think just hitting the headquarters of regime, that's of their. Yeah, I think that might actually push the market up a little bit.
Yeah, some of it would signal more that the war could end sooner than later, right?
Yep. We're hearing reports that OpenAI or ChatGPT is starting to sell ChatGPT itself at a discount, which should hurt
Microsoft. Yeah, Microsoft and OpenAI are definitely in a fight right now. Bitcoin bounced up a little bit there, back above 104 here. So we are seeing a little bit of resilience, but not a whole bunch here across the board. Q's 529.40, trying to raise a little bit after that first move to the downside, but Not really.
Seems muted to me, actually, a little bit. Q is still slipping.
What I'm going to be keeping a close eye on is the VIX to see on any break of sort of that 23, 25 level, because in general, that's where it sort of hits and runs out of steam if we're not up a creek without the paddle, so to speak.
Right. Well,
so
oil now 74.17 now barrel, so still pushing up here. So
so that's, I think you could see VIX break through that 23 level today.
I don't want to hear any Republicans complaining about price of gas in the tank. My tank's going up because right there, 74.25 here.
And I have to say, the same way that I was bitching about the fact that we weren't seeing a quick price move down on gas when oil moved down, when crude moved down. Same way I was nervous that gas was going to shoot up yesterday, and it stayed stable. So you can see that on both sides that it has the
yeah, I mean, I think a lot of that was front run in the futures market for RBO or RBOB gas, right? Gasoline. So yeah, but that's going to run out quickly. So I don't, 317 now at Tesla. Let's get back up there. Let's run up there. Come on, Tesla. Deutsche Bank says the stablecoin bill may boost the dollar's global power.
It has. I mean, that's what Secretary Besson said. He made it very clear that one of the reasons it was so important for that to pass is that, the third biggest buyer of U.S. Treasury right now is Tether and Circle.
Yep.
That is where they see liquidity. Bitcoin just hit lows of the day, so it tried to make its first pump, did not work. Same thing, Qs have fallen to the lows of the day here. Tick negative about 200. Advanced decline has come down to 600, so that's a pretty big drop when you consider that it was up over 12, almost 1,300. Ooh, Q's 528.76.
There we go. I think we'll see a turn here a little bit.
We'll say Sunrun has finally found some buyers here, bounced back on the cash open here, now up almost 78 basis points. Few of the early morning laggards have turned it around.
Yeah, Tesla now 317. I had a feeling that was going to turn around right there. You go, 317.5. Tick flying now. Yeah, once we've figured out that there's
Bitcoin jumped up to 104.
318 now on Tesla. There you go. Come on, Tesla.
A little bit of a move up here by everything. Gold pushing up still. WTI just broke 74. So fear on oil definitely moving up to the upside here. Gold keeps on petering out at that 33.95 level, unable to hold above 34.
319 on Tesla now.
Bitcoin back at 104.250, so nice little bounce there.
$104.4 now on Bitcoin, 319.50 now on Tesla.
Seen a big move up by Scholar Rock Holdings here. I actually had news on that. 1 second, find it. There it is.
Tick up 250 now.
Yeah, seeing some strength come in.
Oil is coming down 73.80 now a barrel.
Okay, we got the SPY moving up, Q moving up, tick moving up now. Advanced decline up 1477. So after dropping down to 600 on the open, nice little move to the upside here. So it looks like it was a little bit of maybe a bear trap in there. See if this can pull to the upside, continuing Bitcoin 104,350. Nice little bounce back.
That's knocking on the door of 320 here.
We do see it. Tick staying positive. Q's struggling to get back to that 530 level, though. Same thing. SPY struggling to get back above 600. So those round numbers seem to be the thing to look at so far this morning. Dow Jones
That's a 320 there now share. Yeah.
So mostly chop here this morning.
320.35 now. Wow, Tesla pumping here. Stuck to my guns a bit last yesterday, ticking up 300.
Nvidia still unable to hold above that 144. Apple unable to hold above 200. So we're starting to see some sort of areas where the key resistance keeps kicking back in here. Tell you what, Amazon on the daily charts got a nice little cup and handle there. That's pretty classic formation. Right to it. That's interesting.
Tesla about to break on the door of 321 here.
Yeah, moving up nicely, 1.45%. Again, Robotaxi coming up this weekend, so that's sort of drive.
321.06 now. Wow.
Yeah, the Robotaxi launches this weekend.
Yeah. That's why I'm staying long. I'm not touching any of that. I'm just going to stay long.
Will you keep it through Robotaxi Day?
Yep.
Through the launch?
Yeah.
I know
it's buy the rumor, sell the news.
I come from the world of crypto where if you wait for the halving, you're screwing yourself. You got to sell right before. Right. And then wait 6 months for it to come back up. So that's the reason. Same thing. Apple's whatever day they call it their WWCD ABC. Always seems to be a sell the news event. Q's trying, can't quite break back up to the VWAP yet. Got rejected there right at the 9 MA. Does seem like the upside's capped so far today. We've made a couple of nice little pops up across the indices, Bitcoin, gold, but they seem to sort of fizzle out at the same spot. So right now, not the energy to have the safe havens take off or equities so far in general. See if UNH bounced at all. Not really, just still sitting there.
Taking a little bit of a breather, a little bit of a break there. Back to 104 now in Bitcoin. And just algos are okay. India's trade minister says they are currently negotiating 9 trade deals, including with the EU. So India's back in the game, huh?
I did see earlier they said there would be a talk between Trump and Mondi this week.
That's really good.
So Berkshire has fallen all the way back to the 200-day MA here, Steve.
Tesla 321.40 now. Yeah, I mean,
that zone that I pointed out, 3 weeks ago that I said keep an eye that it could come all the way back down here. It just hit that zone.
Yep, I like it.
And I'm not even a buyer here personally. At some point, they might convince me.
Tesla now knocking on the door of 322 now.
Nice. Carvana up about 2% today. Nice little recovery here. Delta Airline moving up here today a little bit too.
There it is, 321.85. We're almost there, 88 now. Closing in. Tesla closing on 322 here. As tick now 215.
TMC back. It had taken a little bit of a breather. Now moving back to the upside here. Nucor, same thing. So some of the early morning movers are getting ready to look like they're ready for breakout opportunities here.
$322 on Tesla, just hit 322.02 there. 322.03 was a high of the day.
Nice bounce back by Sunrun and Futu this morning. Some of the bigger losers in the pre-market jumping back up. There you go, Steve. Your cruise line's now back in the positive here too. Chips are a mixed bag. As we know, Marvell, the big winner, up about 8% here this morning, continuing to move to the upside. You can definitely look for it to fill this gap now up towards that 85.49 area.
We're seeing Wall Street Jesus now saying HUYA, unusual put selling detected. HUYA. A little bit more of a push there and the Qs, and we could go.
Yeah, they're trying.
I might take my profit here in Qs though. Have a nice bit of a
Reach the VWAP. It could jump up to that 531 area pretty quickly.
Yeah, I want to hold off just a wee bit. Yeah, because I think honestly, if that's all there is to this war, at this end of it, stocks could just go right back up.
Yeah, it's a tough one. It's tough with the threat of war to hold things overnight and everything else. I know I've been a little bit more standoffish. I'm in a couple of things, but not nearly as much. And on the crypto side, it's everything sort of retracing to prior levels. I'm more buy the dip person right now than anything else.
Yeah, 322.09. Now the highs of the day on Tesla. So look, we're still trying to push there. 350 now. Look at that pop. Up $6 now on Tesla.
You can make the move here. It is looking to try to.
$322.79 now on the highs. 320, they're almost 323 now here on Tesla.
Yeah, it's running away nicely.
425 now on the tick now, pushing the upside. Oh.
Markets are moving back to the upside here nicely.
323 now on Tesla. Whew. All those shorts are getting crushed now in Tesla.
Yes, they are. What do we say? Do not fade the mosque, right? Nice. There you go, Steve. 323.50. It's going to jump. I'd watch it at that 325.70 area is that first area you got to kind of watch.
Indeed, 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 indeed.
Nice trade.
I think we still go, though. I don't think there's anything stopping this puppy.
Well, again, you got Powell. How far are you going to let it go towards that? You know, all you need is him not to have a purple tie on. Powell puts are famous.
All right, then I will.
You know, and you could just lessen your load. I know you went pretty deep.
Man, you hit the nail on the head here, Mr. Howard. I did take 3/4 of my position off. We'll leave the rest on. Let them ride.
Huge win. Don't you know? It's just volatility. We've been telling everybody we got to practice what we preach, right?
Right.
You know, take profits, make the win, especially a big win like that, and you chanced it by doubling into it. So cost averaging down and getting it where you made that nice win.
And that's a good point, right, Howard?
Because all it takes is one tweet. You taught me that.
Yeah.
It's I like it to go. I do think it can go to that 325, 27. It should in normal times, what it normally does, but all it takes is one tweet. Putin says that's it, and we hear that there's an aircraft carrier headed to the Mediterranean, and then all hell breaks loose. Do they even have any left, Russia?
I don't really know, to be honest. We can find out. But yeah, no, look, taking a little bit of profit off and letting the rest ride for a while, I'm okay with that, right?
Yeah.
That means I'm still in the game.
Yeah, you're still in the game, but you lock yourself in that even if it does turn the other way, it's going to be a profitable trade.
And if you're out there, if you followed me in this, let me know. Hit me up, send me a message, post it here. Let me know you follow me. I think I haven't made a loss yet this week and last week. So if you've been following me, we've been nailing this pretty hard. And Qs are still pushing up here. I mean, I like this here.
Yeah. This is, I will mention this is getting towards the level it was at just before the cash opened. So now it's the question, do we break above the morning lows? Morning lows pre-market were 531 on the dot, basically. So
if
above that 531, and then that's when you really got a breakout opportunity.
Right. And I think if the worst is over now here, I think we're good with the war here. If that's it. It's in a bunker bus.
Because of the times, they'll go to sleep here at some point.
Yeah, exactly.
And we'll start up tonight at 6 o'clock again. That's what makes it hard. It's hard to hold stuff overnight because all the stuff's happening. The first attack was at 8:20. I can remember on Thursday night because my long trades looked like crap quickly.
And Nintendo up another 5.4% today. So, that was another one that I talked about over the last few weeks as yes.
Come on, Qs, break through this spot here. That's what we need. Got to get up to that 531, and it could take off here. So. And
Netflix, my goodness, is still at 1234.42. Been watching Ghost, the US version of it. Ticker X has been halted here. X Steel has been halted.
And we did say that deal went through.
Yeah. Ticker X has been halted.
That's halted on, well, not really on the way up. That's a weird halt. Because it's First of all, it's lightly.
There goes the
Very nice.
530.66 now on the highs of the day here. 530, yeah, 66, 68, yeah, no, ticks up 430. So you know we're starting to melt up.
Yeah. So far, looking pretty good. TMC now up 25%, so it continues to squeeze to the top side here. Looks like it wants to do another breakout to the upside right now. Same thing, Marvell up 9.44%. Now look at that runaway. Wow. That one you got room all the way, as I said, to that 83 level, 200 day MA. And the gap. Gap fill would be right to about 83.60 right now. So you could definitely see that fill the gap.
TMC, we're seeing a repeated put seller into strength here on TMC.
Not too surprising, like we said, with that kind of move to the upside. ASTS continuing to move up here also, up 4.31% this morning. Another one, Steve, getting a lot of love lately from everybody is Credo Technology here, almost at an all-time or 52-week high anyways. Continuing to get strong moves off of their new partnerships. They just signed up Amazon, NVIDIA, AMD, and Tesla, all partners with them.
Trump now says if the Fed would lower rates, we would buy debt for a lot less.
Well, that's just, yeah, of course, you're right.
I know that, but he's now what's interesting here is that he's putting it out there like that.
They have been. It's more been, Secretary of Treasury
dropped here on something here. Q's just took a drop. So I guess what he's saying is that he knows he's front running it, saying that maybe that's why
not going to be any no move.
Not lowering rates. So there you go. There's your answer. He told you front running it. Tick's still up though. Yeah, Trump reiterates Fed should cut rates. Yeah, I mean he has, right? He's actually speaking to reporters in the White House as he's saying that, so he knows that the Fed's not cutting rates, so he's front running it.
Yeah, and Trump even just said Fed Powell probably won't cut today.
And he's done a poor job, is what he just said about him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which probably tells you right there that gave you your dip buy for the day.
And one of those bad news for the folks holding the stock right now, Apollo has agreed to basically take over all the creditors for Apollo in a prepackaged Chapter 11. Equity is going to be worthless. So we're going to see $204 million in market cap erased from this company overnight. And they are a Bitcoin mining company. They didn't do it right. That's a shame. Never want to see a company go out. Qs did hold up above the VWAP, so still keeps you slightly bullish here.
Like
Bitcoin starting to punch up here. So Bitcoin again, Bitcoin breaks 104.7. Watch for a run. to the upside here. It will squeeze, like you said, Steve. There is a little bit more built up on the short side on crypto right now.
Mm-hmm.
More on the alts than on Bitcoin itself. So
Tick dropping here.
Some squeezes on any kind of big move to the upside.
Trump says we should be 2 points lower. Oof. 2.5 points lower. Oh my goodness.
We should be 2. We should be back at 2 right now.
Tesla now back to 323.08, now near the highs of the day. That was that dip you needed. You were looking for it.
Nice move up on Bitcoin. Happy to see that. And there you go, Q's. Q's recovering here. Tesla trying to break to the high of the day, Steve. Here, trying to get to that number we
There you
talked
go.
about.
Look at Tesla now, 323.40. See, I sold some of it, but I didn't sell all of it. That still gives me I still took that profit. Yeah.
Absolutely. And again, we hit on it. Trump is tweeting away. This is be careful. Taking profit, even if it moves up. I wouldn't feel bad if I were you. It was, you got to be smart and say, okay, if this guy's tweeting left and right, it usually is not a good sign.
Right. $324 on Tesla now.
Seeing a short squeeze talked about on MP Materials. Wow, look at that. Up 9.36% here this morning. Seeing a short squeeze on MP Materials. Ticker MP happening as we speak here. Taking off. Continuing to move. This is a short squeeze right here.
104.5 now on Bitcoin. And the
here goes Trump. I'm going to go very short term, get rates way down, and then go long term. And what he means there is he's going to attack the 2-year, things that are the shorter duration bills.
Right. Exactly what he's looking at.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I clarified, which he already did. Stable coins. That's their answer.
Yeah, I like that.
His answer to that was to get regulated stable coins in so people around the globe, retail, can buy very easily U.S. treasuries. Oof, that MP getting hit here off the reopen.
Yeah, I had a feeling that was probably.
VinFast, wow, that one is now opening. Look at that. That's probably running on this news. VinFast to open the first U.S. Not moving at all. First U.S. dealership in California. Vietnamese EVs coming to the U.S. This is interesting because this is a pumper, as you can see. It's price action. It's one of those, what we call penny pumpers. VFS could be interesting to watch over the next couple of days. I am adding that.
He can't say whether U.S. will strike Iran, so maybe he hasn't. Trump just says maybe I should appoint myself at the Fed.
Oh, good Lord.
Trump now says Iran wants to negotiate.
Should have negotiated too. He's still saying the same rhetoric.
Right.
I am seeing that Trump will extend a June 19th deadline for ByteDance to divest from the U.S. assets. And he did that on TikTok with a video. He definitely gets social media. There is no doubt. Trump says, wait until Fed chair gets out, then go long term. Although now Trump says, not, I said it's very late, but nothing is too late. Iran has reached out. Now that should have us spiking up a little bit. I don't know if it is.
Yeah, we are 324 now on Tesla. So, yeah.
Not doing as much on the Qs, though. I do see our man Steve Flanagan, so perfect timing for that. Let's get ready to bring him into the room. Straight from Florida. There he is, Mr. Money himself. How are you doing, Steve?
Doing good. Doing good. I'm starting to see what we talked about. You know, dollar index is beginning to come from quite the oversold situation, and we're beginning to get some headway here. 98.72 right now. We're looking at that critical last week close, 98.14. Still got a lot of levels on the top side to break, but I did put a piece out on my Twitter. Thanks for retweeting it, guys. And, the technicals are aligned very nicely here. And I'm looking at the dollar index as getting ready to make a break to the top side.
Nice. I do have to ask, you said on Monday you think quarter point. What are you thinking now?
Well, I know I'm in the extreme minority camp.
Including Trump just saying that they have.
You are on a kayak in the middle of the Pacific, buddy.
That's right. So, okay, I still hold the Fed should. I mean, housing starts.
Oh, we all say should. So I do, I want to point that out, is you're not the only one that feels it should happen.
That's right. I mean, housing starts in May down 9.8%. The guy.
Oh, and something just hit the DXY, Steve, down to 98.56, 98.55 here.
Right. That money is going to move first, and it's headline trading today. Right. So, any tweet that comes out that's going to involve the U.S. is clearly going to be a negative on the dollar here. So volatility is going to be the name of the game the rest of this week.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he is tweeting at a rapid pace here.
But he can't be tweeting, right? I mean, he's talking right now.
Yesterday, he offered to mediate on Iran.
Right.
They should all come to the White House. Iran is totally defenseless. Trump, Iran suggested they should come to the White House. So he's saying that Iran suggested that.
That's not happening, guys.
Wow.
As I alluded to on Monday, this is over. I mean,
it was over before it started, Steve. I mean, Ayatollah Khomeini is a preacher. Let's be honest. He's come on, give me a break. The guy's not going to do anything to us.
That's right. And, this comes down to, look, simple point. We don't want enrichment of uranium. There's no need for you to do that. If you want nuclear power, fine, but we just can't have that. That's a red line. It's been a red line. Somebody's finally doing something about it.
But why are they not letting us in? They're not letting our I guess in this case in the old it's IEA's people, right? And then it became NATO's people. They didn't let those people in. Then it was because due to the Iran and Kuwait and Iraq, they had the weapons inspectors going in, making sure there was no weapons grades. They haven't let anybody in the country for that.
Right, and I would, as a speculator looking from the outside in, you've got religious. I don't know if I can use the word zealots, but
that's exactly the word to use on both sides. That's what they are.
Yeah, and then if they're command and control of not only the military but also the nuclear, it was a very simple, Steve, as you said. Let the guys come in. Let them say that, hey, they are adhering to the international requirements, and that would have been over. Period. No problem. So I don't know. But I think it's a sideline. I do think there's of course, a huge threat and a possibility there. But I'll move that aside. We've got Fed today. This is the big one. So I do still think they cut 0.25%, but clearly I am in the minority camp. So what I'm going to clarify, watch for no unchanged rates and watch the dovish speak have to come in. Yeah. We've got to see an acknowledgement by the Fed that they've got their hands around the current economic situation. And-
Wait. You're saying that they have their hands around the economic situation. Listen, like they don't have their hands around the economic situation. The big beautiful bill is pretty much doomed. No trade deals, possibly one with Japan. UK, I don't know. India's saying, but I don't think they have. They don't have a budget. They don't have. I mean, nothing's going on here, Steve. I would put the opposite, and I would say the new polls numbers that came out this morning put his polls numbers at 38% approval rating on the economy. So he's not. I don't think he does have his fingers around the pulse of the economy.
He does not.
Okay.
He has not. But if you are a Fed member, or if you're running the Fed, your popularity, your accuracy rate is probably at the bottom.
Right. Agreed.
I
would say at the bottom. I mean, this is Volcker style.
They're looking up from they're down in China looking up at us. My mother used to
Trump just said he wants to make sure on deportations to take care of hotels and farmers. So keep your eye on on Hilton and
So it's important that the Fed at least starts to make an effort to show people that they understand what's going on. You cannot be in this ivory tower using antiquated models that do not represent what's going on in Main Street.
Right.
And it's all about Main Street. Otherwise, you know what? There's going to be a political movement against them, and I don't think that that's a wise decision at all. An independent Fed is critical to everything operating correctly.
Independent Fed? You mean the Fed that Trump just said he should appoint himself?
It's amazing, isn't it? there are no bad. So far, we've got
no bad. It really is. It's comedic, but you don't want comedy out of the White House sometimes.
Well, he's going to be the Pope. He's going to be the Fed chairman. What else have we got here? He's going
to have a lot of free time in 4 years.
Yeah, he's negotiating every trade agreement's got to come
by. Man,
that's crazy.
But I think what we'll see is
Apple is going to buy a lot of Trump gold cards because they.
Well, I don't blame them. It's probably cheaper than if you think about it. Microsoft is getting poached by OpenAI for $100 million for all their employees. Why not just buy all the gold cards? Say screw you, take $5 million and take every hot employee out of India and the tech sectors. I don't blame them for that. Smart move.
And pay down the deficit with the money, please.
Oh dear God, come on now. 5,000 gold cards at $5 million is not going to pay the debt.
Doesn't do anything. Yeah, unfortunately.
Well, and every little bit at this point, is going to help.
Yeah, that's right. We want to move in the right direction, without a doubt.
But so,
Fed $5 billion. Trump's little party on his down with the 250
at Mar-a-Lago gets more than that.
That's right. The 250th anniversary of the Army was 48 million. So that's dropping the bucket here.
Dropping the bucket. Yep.
Yeah.
But I think we'll see a dovish Fed, and I think this could ignite the markets. Yeah, it'll support the dollar index at some point in time. The Fed, the Treasury, let's call it the Treasury, but the Fed has got to be concerned about the dollar because, as I posted, 97 in the Dixie, 97.60 last Thursday's close.
Yeah.
If that level yields, Steve, you called me out on Monday and said, where are we going? And I said 94.5, 95.5. But we're getting back to levels that, suddenly start getting critical. When you look at the dollar as a reserve currency, you begin to, and it is not people selling their dollar assets.
Right.
This is simply hedging, right? If I buy a treasury today for $1, then I want to say I don't have a lot of faith in what's going on over there, and as an outsider,
right,
I better have a 30% hedge, which means I sell 30 cents. And then the dollar goes lower, and I say I better 40 cents. Now I'm 50 cents. So that's what's been going on with the dollar. It is simply a hedging mechanism where everybody hedges against the uncertainties in the dollar field. Likewise, that can turn very rapidly. And that's what I have been trying to point out.
Yep.
Keep your eye on the currencies. The yen is closing higher on the weekly. What? The yen? BOJ, we expected them to punt. They kept rates at 0.5%. They did cut back on their buying of bonds to half the amount. Why does the Bank of Japan still buy bonds? I thought when you buy bonds, you're adding liquidity to the market.
That's right.
But upon looking at this, Japan BOJ controls 53.2% of all the JGBs issued. And that's lower from its peak of 54%. $3.8 trillion that the government owns in their bonds, which means they just allow them to expire, which is a extinguishing of capital. Japan is a massive problem down the road in waiting, and something that we pay. But anyway, the yen has been safe haven, and that's closing higher. So the dollar is coming back there. The dollar is coming back. If you look at the CAD and the MEX as the offsets to the uncertainty in the US dollar CAD off of its yearly lows is now higher, and dollar MEX, a high interest rate, 8.5% currency, that's now beginning to break higher. So everything is beginning to show, and I'm going to say it's all started because of technicals, because of the oversold nature. Now, if you get a positive, such as the Fed adding in any dovish talk, watch out above.
There you go. Trump just says we're going to make a deal with India. He said he stopped the war between Pakistan and India. Okay.
Well, July 9th, it's getting closer every time we meet.
Yep, agreed. And Bitcoin now breaking 105 here again.
Yep.
The Iranian government planes have departed from Iran and heading towards Oman. There you go. I wonder if that's the Ayatollah leaving the country.
And when you look on, some of the about the locals, all you're starting to see an awful lot of, protesting in Iran about the ruling elite. And so, we know that's happened over many years now, but it keeps getting.
Is this a regime change in Iran?
Could be.
Then you know what? Then this could be Trump's biggest win of his administration right now.
You will win on that.
Well, think about all the things that happened thereafter. Israel, Hamas, boom. Lebanon, boom.
Trump just said, Powell, on Powell, I think he hates me.
But he appointed him. Amazing.
That's right. He did. He appointed him, yes.
So it's going to be an interesting afternoon. I'm certainly going to say most likely the volatility will be huge after the 2:00 announcement. And then when he starts to speak, let's look for the tie.
Right.
What color is the tie this time? I might say maybe he shocks us all with a yellow tie.
Look, we make fun of the tie. We make fun of the briefcase. I was looking at times where we are implicated to be a lot like today. So I asked ChatGPT and Grok, and I asked all of the different AIs. I have access to about 18 or 19 different types. And they all said the same thing. We have an unstable world where we have several places that are up instability. We are in a lot of stagflation where inflation is still kind of not quite meticulously put all the way down, which is what Powell's worried about. We do have we're looking at some places where unemployment is started to tick up a bit, even though the overall number is still good, and job losses are still pretty high. But tech is still getting us through this. So they said that at the turn of the century was a good example of that. Automobiles, airplanes coming out. There was a big move for technology at the time. Inflation was pushing up. It all turned into one thing, mushy, going into war, that people weren't happy. And that's what really got people to move towards invading other countries. The 30s, a good example of that, where technology was pushing forward. Germany's technology was pushing forward. Then Blitzkrieg happened. Early teens with the invention of the automobile and World War I coming around. There were several examples even going further back than that, and even examples of it, not too long ago, with it being like Kuwait, the oil fields, right, with Iraq. So, do you feel that this could very possibly be another time like that, where technology is pushing forward, people are unhappy, inflation is high, farmers are not producing the food, people are so unhappy they're not producing children anymore, there's an issue now with vaccinations. Are we like that, or is it something different and special?
I think this is the precipice of an incredibly special time. Either the choice is war. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing, right? That's the song. We could be on the precipice of a period of time where peace prevails, and we stop with all these skirmishing, and we stop with all this incredible loss of human life.
Agreed.
And technology could usher in this period. I am such a firm believer in this theory. And I really think that we could be in for a 2 to 3 year absolute boom as technology gets unleashed. And I'll add one more thing, Steve. We talk about government debt. Governments just spend money recklessly. If there is one thing Doge has shown us all, it is the wastefulness of politicians involved in the purse, the taxpayer money. But this is all over the world. If the government begins to step back in issuing debt, well, guess what? That means the private enterprise businesses, the ones that hire people, can get involved and have more access to the capital to expand. And there is, again, technology right there at the doorstep. So I do think it's a very good period of time. I'd like to say I could equate it to the World War I, the early part of the 1900s, airplanes and things like that. But, Steve, I do believe that we're at the precipice of the technology breakout. Internet was only, 20 years, 25 years ago? I mean, in a time frame, that's nothing.
Yeah. And I remember, if you think about tech in general, like when the computers came out, yes, we're that old, Steve. Remember when the computer was a big deal? The Atari came out in the late 70s. We thought that was big technology, but, it was right after Vietnam. You look at pushing forward a little bit. We've had wars and rumors of wars for the last, in my lifetime, 5 decades, right? That when you look, there was always a tech boom right before that. And I never really thought of that. This tech boom that we've had with the internet was preceded by several different situations, especially with Russia moving forward. But now that we have this AI boom, that was kind of what the overall preference was, saying, hey, look, this new technology is not available to everybody, right? And we are putting massive sanctions on the Russians that they don't get all the technology that we have. We're telling Chinese you can't have this technology, but yet China is making this technology themselves. Look, this could be, is this not going to be where we have another world war?
Well, that of course is the argument to the downside of technology, right? That AI is, the machine world, right? The Terminator. I mean, anybody who doesn't think that robotic warfare is, part of the future. I mean, who wants to lose human life? I mean, look at the new U.S. aircrafts that are being fighter planes.
Yeah.
They're going to actually have unmanned planes that are around the one plane with a pilot. And so, it's all going in that direction, technology. But maybe technology is what keeps us out of wars in the future, because they'll certainly be fought. If we just look at the Israeli-Iran thing, boom, 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 3 days, and next thing you know, they're leaving Iran.
Yeah, what's interesting, I have said this a lot, that in the past, the haves and the have-nots was based on money. Who has the most money? The United States, China, the major players, superpowers. But in the future, I've said that the country or the people will be separated data by data, right? Who has the most data? And we're already in that process now where we are already holding back data from some countries.
That's right. And you nailed it, Steve. He who owns the data controls everything. And that's what it's all about. United States doesn't want any data to go out anywhere else. We are the largest consuming nation in the world. Hence, all the data is right here.
Right.
And so that is, when do, I've written pieces on this, but if you want to talk about things, when does a bank begin to use data? When do we know department stores, when
I hope soon, I think you're absolutely right, Steve. We have all this data, but they're not using it correctly.
That's right. And, before you even go to do a trade, it already has examined your trading behavior, and it already has moved the price in the direction you're looking to go. So, there's a lot of interesting things that can happen as a result of technology. There are a lot of good that we don't know about. The bad, of course, every time we get a technology change, it is disruptive to human life, and therefore the negatives all prevail at the beginning. You got to push through and look through it all to see the positives that are out there. And initially, I think the positives are incredible, but one has to always keep in mind that in the wrong hands, there are some negatives out there. So,
all right, Steve Flanagan, we'll see you right back here on. Go ahead.
On Friday, Steve, and let's see what the Fed does. And we didn't mention, following the Fed, we got Bank of England, and I'll expect them to cut 0.25%. Their inflation was lower today. And, yet again, another central bank cutting rates. So let's see what happens. The Fed has to define its posture right now, and it certainly can't be hawkish as all the headlines are beginning.
I'll leave it this. Trump on TikTok says he will extend the deadline, by the way, if those of you have TikTok. I think, and I said this earlier, that with Powell, we know he's not going to cut rates. I'm going to disagree with you on that one. So I know you still think they're going to cut rates. But if you were in that room with him, what question would you ask Powell? If you were a Bloomberg reporter, Wall Street Journal reporter, what question would you ask Powell?
If not now, when?
Yeah. If not now, when? Steve Flanagan, we'll see you right back here on Friday. And I agree with that. If not now, when? See you guys.